Welcome to Advanced Nursing Research. I am Holly Hubenschmidt. I am your presenter today. I'm one of the many librarians at Webster University Library, and I am the liaison to the nursing program. So I get to work especially with the nursing students, nursing faculty, and with the resources that you need. I am here to support you throughout your time at Webster. And today I want to take you a little bit deeper into some of the resources available to you for your research. Before I begin, I feel like I need to review the two most important harping points that I have when I talk to any class. That is, ask for help. Remember that 20-minute rule. If you are looking for information and you are not finding anything after 20 minutes that's very useful, whether you're in the library databases or out on the open web, stop. Contact the library. You can get a hold of us via phone, email, 24/7 chat. You can stop by the research desk. We are here to support you. The research librarians who man those services and handle our chat service, they are fantastic. And if your question is very, very specific to nursing resources, they are going to connect you to me so that I can help you. We want you to be most efficient at saving you time. So ask for help and start your research early. We are happy to use interlibrary loan, other ways to try to get you the information you need. But if your paper's due tomorrow and you're starting tonight, we're just a lot more limited in what we can access for you. We're going to pick up where we left off at the overview video, where we were looking for a sample search. Our topic was, in patients with dementia, does music therapy decrease anxiety? And just as a quick review, we started at the library website, library.webster.edu, clicked on Research Guides, scroll down to find the nursing guide, and that opens us up to the nursing guide right on the journal articles page. Last time we looked at CINAHL, and we are going to look again at CINAHL, but we're also going to investigate Cochrane. These are probably the two databases you will most likely use for most of your research assignments here at Webster. So Cochrane is the Cochrane Database of Systematic Reviews. Cochrane is an entity out of England. They are one of the groups that is at the forefront of the evidence-based medicine movement. They really want us to look at the research, to look at studies, to find the good studies and figure out what those good studies are telling us. What does the evidence show for the efficacy of a treatment, of a medication, of a process or a procedure? When I click on Cochrane, again, I have to log in. So last name and Webster ID number. And we get to the Cochrane database search page. Cochrane, like CINAHL, is a database we get from the EBSCO host company. So the search boxes and all that look pretty familiar, but we know we're in Cochrane because right at the top it does say Cochrane. And I want to put in elements of my topic about dementia and the reduction of anxiety with music therapy. When I search in Cochrane, I tend to go more broad because Cochrane is not a database of articles. It just simply does not have as much content as CINAHL has. What it has is these systematic reviews, reports that Cochrane has put out, the researchers at Cochrane have put out, based on all of the studies they can find on a topic. So in this case, searching these 3 concepts, whereas in CINAHL, I would have gotten hundreds of results, here I get 2. And this top result, music-based therapeutic inventions for people with dementia, is perfect. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that title. And when I click on the title and then click on the PDF link, I'm taken to the actual report. And this is a very in-depth report. It's 102 pages long. And what it's going to tell me is every study that the Cochrane researchers could find worldwide, going back in time, based on this topic. And they're going to show me which studies were good studies, how I can get to them if I want to see the actual publication of that study, which studies were problematic. Was it a study that started with 500 participants and only 20 completed the study? So, you know, that's not enough to draw a valid conclusion about the evidence. Are there other problems with bias? They'll go through all of that, and then they'll take the good studies and they'll say, here's what the evidence shows us. Yes, this is effective. No, this is not effective. Or if there's any caveats in there. So I wouldn't spend a lot of time in Cochrane, but as you're getting into courses where you need to look at the evidence, where you need to really investigate the research that's out there, if you do find a Cochrane report on your topic, it's a gold mine. It's kind of everything you need all in one place. But if you don't find something very quickly, I would move on from Cochrane. And at that point, I would go back to CINAHL. CINAHL's still the place I would start for almost all my research, but Cochrane is worth a quick look. And with CINAHL, we're going to be going back to journal articles instead of reports. So again, we're in CINAHL, again from the EBSCO host company. We've got those boxes at the top to enter the concepts related to our search question, our PICO question. And then at the bottom, we have options to limit our results. And very quickly with those limits, my 2 very favorites are journal subset, the one at the bottom here in the red circle, to choose nursing. CINAHL includes allied health literature, so occupational therapy, physical therapy, other fields. And if I just want nursing research, I might want to come in here and select the journal subset nursing to eliminate all of those other perspectives. In some cases, the assignment might want multiple perspectives. If I'm looking at a multidisciplinary care team, it might be really helpful to see what other disciplines are saying. But if it's truly just nursing focused research that I need, journal subset nursing. I also very much like the research article limit that I've got circled at the top. If you'll notice 2 boxes below that, there is a limit for evidence-based practice. This is a relatively new limit for CINAHL, and it's definitely worth trying. I would turn off research article and turn on evidence-based practice and run a search. And then you might want to run the same search with that reversed, looking for the research article and not the evidence-based practice, just to make sure you're getting everything. Be careful though with the limits. If you come in here and you start clicking all of the boxes, you may limit yourself to 0 very quickly. So I would apply 1 or 2 limits, run your search, see how your results look, and then come back in and add more limits if you need them. Again, running our search related to music therapy as a treatment for agitation and anxiety in people with dementia. One of the most powerful ways to search, instead of just putting in my ideas, my topic, from my topic, the words that I think might be most useful, it's to run a search with those words, with my imagined search, but then to find the actual subject heading that CINAHL assigns to that subject. When an article is published in a nursing journal, a copy goes to CINAHL headquarters, and there are people there, indexers, who read every article. They input the information about the article into CINAHL, and they assign subject headings, these subject tags, to every article. They have an official list of tags they can use. They can't go rogue. They can't make up tags. So if I know the official subject heading that's being used, it's a very powerful way for me to focus my search on articles that are about that topic. They don't just mention the words that I'm searching. So there's a couple different ways to do that. On the left here in my messy circle, you can see of the results that I have, CINAHL has pulled out, these are the top subject headings that are consistently appearing. So if I put in anxiety and I hadn't thought about agitation, I can see that agitation is showing up in quite a few of these articles. I might want to add that to my search, or I might want to run another search and this time remove anxiety and add agitation. I might want to consider disruptive behavior. Are there other related topics that could be useful? And it might mean that I'm not running, as I said, one search. I might need to run a series of searches to really be comprehensive in covering this topic. The other way, there are actually three, but the second way I can find subject headings are in either the brief article, like is listed here, or in the full record. If I click on the title, it'll show me all of the subject headings that have been applied. So I can see anxiety therapy is showing up, dementia symptoms, agitation with prevention and control. And these are all strategies I might want to try in my searching. Now, the third way, and this might be a really helpful way, is to go to CINAHL subject headings, which is at the top of the CINAHL search screen. This allows me to search just subject headings. And this is really useful in cases where the words I'm thinking of are really confusing, or could be interpreted in multiple ways. If I want to search cold, the computer doesn't know if I'm talking about temperature or if I'm talking about rhinovirus, sniffles. So if I click on CINAHL subject headings and search cold, it's going to tell me that there is a subject heading for cold with temperature in parentheses, and there is a subject heading for common cold. It's going to allow me to be more specific, more focused, and a more effective searcher. In this case, I put in agitation. This is what the search screen looks like. And again, here, I'm not searching articles. I've clicked on CINAHL subject headings. I'm searching just that list of official subject headings, tags that the CINAHL indexers can use. So if I click on agitation, or if I find agitation, I can click on it. What that's going to do over here on the left, it's going to put me in what they call a tree, which is kind of a hierarchy, an outline of how the subject headings are arranged. So I can see that agitation is an official subject heading. And it is one of the subheadings for behavioral symptoms. So if I'm not finding enough with agitation, I could look at some of the related topics to agitation, or I could click on behavioral symptoms and do a broader search. Over here on the more in the center part of the screen, I have the option to click on a scope note, and that will give me a little more information. This tells that indexer at CINAHL under what conditions can they assign agitation to an article. So it has to be, the article has to pertain to a state of arousal that involves being extremely physically and mentally restless. That is the official definition for agitation according to CINAHL. If this is a topic that I feel like this is good, this is targeted, this is what I'm looking for, I can click on search the database in the right. And this will run a search in CINAHL with this funny coding that you see at the top. MH, it means it's a major subject heading. Agitation is in quotation marks because it wants to make sure that if it is a phrase that it's all put together, and the whole thing is in parentheses so that the field of major heading is all included in one. And you can see I've got over 2,000 results with this search. Now, if I click on any of the articles that I pull up, oh, actually, before I go there, let me look up at the top here. So if I then add from those 2,000 articles, if I add other elements of my search, so I've got MH with agitation. If I add dementia and music, every time I add another topic in, it's going to narrow my results. So this has brought me down to 90 articles. I've clicked on one here that looks really wonderful. And remember that I have these tools on the right, so I can print, email, save, and there's that cite button. So if I want to gather the APA citation, copy it, paste it into a document, I can easily do that from here. Another strategy that might save you time and help you remain a little more organized as you do your nursing research is to create an EBSCO account. This is optional, but some people find it really useful. Up at the top of CINAHL or Cochrane or any EBSCO database, you'll find a sign in link. You can sign in here, and if you haven't created an account before, you can sign up. I'll know that I'm logged into my EBSCO account because I'm going to see a little yellow "my" about that EBSCO host login. And here's where I can, if I add an item to a folder, it will stay. If I'm not logged in and I put some things in a folder, I can print them, I can email them. But once I close the browser window, they're gone. This way, if I'm logged in and save them to a folder, they will stay. And the next time I log in, they will be there. And I have the option down at the bottom of the left-hand column here. It says My Custom. I can create custom folders. So I could create a folder for every class or for every assignment. Or if it's a really in-depth assignment, I can create it for different parts of the assignment, whatever I need to do to stay organized. Another very cool thing that you can do when you've logged into an EBSCO host account, well, actually this you can do regardless. When I run a series of searches, I do have access to my search history while I still have my browser window open. And if I click on that search history, you can see here I had just done 8 searches, but this save searches alerts in the center that is something that I need to be logged in to be able to access. So if search number 8 with 58 results was really wonderful, and I'm really interested in this topic and would like to follow the topic, maybe for the rest of the class, I'd like to see if anything new is published related to this topic that would have come up in this particular search. Or if it's super interesting to me and I might want to revisit this throughout my program, do future papers related to this, or ultimately some type of capstone work on it, then I might want to save this first search, and then I can set up an alert which will notify me every week or every month and say, hey, a new article was just published that came out, was just published, and it would have been found in your search here, but it's brand new. So we're letting you know. It's pretty cool. Another thing I think it's a little bit interesting to be aware of as you're searching are some of the little links that seem kind of peripheral as we're searching, but they actually can tell us quite a bit of information. This article about music in dementia patients, using music with dementia patients. Over on the left, you can see these small links that you might not pay attention to. It says cited references 7. That means this article, the researchers did some literature searching and found 7 articles. So their reference list at the end of their article has 7 references. This article, which is from 2008, has been cited subsequently. So other researchers who have written articles since 2008, 8 other researchers have actually used this article as one of their citations. And if I click on that time cited in this database, I can see those 8 articles. So I can see how people are building on this research. If this is a wonderful article, this is a really great trick to find out, are other people trying to replicate this study? Are they going in depth on one aspect of this study? And this article helped with the foundational research for their study. Did someone go out and disprove this study? Have there been subsequent researchers that dispute these results? You're going to find all of that by clicking on time cited in this database. Just want to give you a quick reminder because it really is important. Once you find some of these great articles listed in CINAHL, you want to get to the full text. And if the article does not say PDF full text, like the one at the bottom here, where in that case, it's awesome. You can click on it. The article's there. You might see article linker as an icon instead, like the article here listed on top. And that's going to, oh, let me go back. I clicked ahead too fast. That's going to let you know, is this article available in one of our other 150 databases that we subscribe to through Webster, or is it something that you're going to have to request from Interlibrary Loan? And this is going to walk you through either option. It's either going to give you a button to get into those databases, to that different database to find the full text, or it's going to give you a button to get into Interlibrary Loan, where you can very easily request this article. It should come in 2 to 3 days, and there's no charge. Again, citation, I do just want to point out, citation is so important. I know there are rules out there where if something is common knowledge, then you don't have to cite it. But in my mind, when in doubt, if you have any question of should I cite this information, go ahead and cite it. You really can't go wrong over citing. And as you look at each record in CINAHL, in Cochrane, you're going to see that Cite button. You just need to scroll down till you find APA. And then if you are using my suggestion of opening a Word document when you start your research, you can copy and paste this into the Word document. I can see with this APA citation that there is a mistake in here. In the title of the article, How Sweet the Sound, you would capitalize the first word of the article. You would capitalize the first word after the colon, and you would capitalize any proper nouns. In this case, research should be capitalized because it's the first word after the colon. Very easy to fix if you pasted this into a Word document, but do double check your citations if you're going to use this method for getting your APA citations. Often there are small mistakes, usually with capitalization, very easy to fix. Just make sure you do take that extra time to look and to fix it. And if you need more help with APA, right from the Nursing Research Guide, there is a link for APA Style with some additional resources from APA, from Purdue University's Online Writing Lab, from Webster's Writing Center, other resources that can help you with APA. And you are always welcome to contact me, to contact the librarians at our research desk. We are happy to help with citation, with your literature search, with at any point in this process. We really do want to work with you. We want to save you some time. We want you to be successful here at Webster and have a great experience with all of the resources that the library has to offer. Thank you so much for your time today, and please send your questions my way. Thank you.